An unusual incident, to say the least, in Saudi Arabia, in which an American rabbi was asked to remove his yarmulke when entering a heritage site near Riyadh earlier in the week. Now, the U.S. delegation there cutting short its trip after Rabbi Abraham Cooper, the chair of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, was asked to take off his religious head covering. The incident coming amidst tension between Saudi Arabia and Israel over the war in Gaza and efforts by Washington to promote normalization of ties between Riyadh and Jerusalem after the war. So, for a first-hand account of what happened in Saudi Arabia, it's a pleasure to welcome Rabbi Abraham Cooper, joining us now from Los Angeles. Thank you, Rabbi, for speaking to us. Appreciate your time.
Yes.
Asking any person to remove their religious head covering is highly unusual, but asking a rabbi who is part of this visiting delegation on religious freedom raises so many questions. So talk us through why you were in Riyadh and exactly what happened at that UNESCO World Heritage site.
Sure. My regular job for the last 46 years, one of the co-founders of the Simon Wiesenthal Center, and I deal with issues of the day. But for this last 2 years, I'm also been one of the 9 commissioners of the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom. That's mandated by the U.S. Congress. We look at 28 different countries around the world, the issue of human rights, but through the lens of religious freedom. And obviously it includes China and Russia and Iran and Cuba, et cetera, et cetera. And it also includes Saudi Arabia. And the commission is in regular contact with the Saudi embassy. The reason why these countries care is that the annual report that we put out also deals with whether or not specific countries should be under sanction because of religious freedom. So These are serious issues. In this past year, I've been honored to actually be the chair of this commission. I went together with my vice chair, who is African-American pastor, and together with our executive director and 2 additional staff. On the first full day we were there, we were taken to this really lovely area in Riyadh, which shows the history. It, in some ways, reminds you just a little bit of the old city of Jerusalem.
Right.
It tells the history of Riyadh, and it is a UNESCO site. And about 20% of the way through, I was told I had a phone call. I believe it was from the foreign ministry, and the gentleman said, "We have laws in Saudi Arabia that we don't allow in public the display of any religious symbols of any other faith. So what you do in private is certainly your business, but we're asking you to remove your kippah." And my reaction was twofold. I said, number one, it's like you've just asked somebody in Saudi Arabia to take off her hijab. And number two, 50 years ago, I spent a month in the Soviet Union, where it was illegal. And I didn't take it off back then, and I'm certainly not taking it off now. But the fact is that I'm here as a U.S. citizen and the head of a government delegation. Are you sure you want me to remove the kippah? He said, "Oh, let me go back. I'll check." Call back 10 minutes later. "No, you have to leave now." And it wasn't just about the site. He was basically saying, anywhere that you go in public, do not wear a kippah. And that was not our understanding, to say the least. And in the end, I said, "Okay, and he said, if you don't leave, we'll have to escort you out," which is essentially what happened. They escorted us out. We took the van back. But on the way, and my last comment to this official was, I will be leaving the site, and I will be leaving Saudi Arabia, because under the circumstances, I can't stay. And my vice chair, obviously not Jewish, and my colleagues basically all agreed. I eventually had a quick conversation with the Saudi ambassador to the U.S., who I will be seeing this coming Tuesday in Washington, and some other unofficial meetings. And I made it clear that I would like to come back and finish the original high-level list of meetings. And I'm absolutely convinced that A, this does not have to do with Gaza. B, it has everything to do with the changes that MBS some of them major. For example, women playing now a very important role. And walking away from Wahhabism, you just can't snap your fingers. So the way I interpret what happened here was this did not come from the very top. It's quite the contrary. And I'm sending actually a signal, if you will, of an endorsement of they talk about Saudi Arabia 2030 and all the great things they're going to do. I had a little bit to do in Bahrain, a little bit to do in the UAE. Our job, I'm not a diplomat, I work for the Simon Wiesenthal Center, is to normalize so when someone walks down the street in an Arab capital and you're wearing a kippah, nobody looks, nobody cares. We're not there yet, but I'm hopeful we will.
Riyadh calls the incident unfortunate. Rabbi, well done for taking the stand you did. Thank you so much for speaking to us, and we do hope that you do go back to Saudi Arabia and, as you say, that the conversations continue. Thank you very much, Rabbi Abraham Cooper, live from Los Angeles. Thank you.